From the Fantasy Armchair, it is the Fantasy TyRant.
Hey there, fellow fantasy football freaks. Welcome back to the Fantasy Armchair. And for the rest of the off-season, the now traveling Fantasy Armchair. I'll be taking this baby around the world. Come on, just play along. First stop, the Redwoods of Northern California. Most majestic forest in the Northern Hemisphere, in my opinion. What a great place to share my rookie dynasty ranks with you, eh? But before we do all that, if you like what you see, give me that thumbs up, alright? Hit subscribe, hit the bell so you know exactly when my videos come out. And share this with everyone you know. We'd appreciate this just as much as you do. Every little bit helps. Thank you. Oh, and if you haven't yet, check out the show I do with my friend Vinny. It's a lot of fun. It's called Fit Down. See, it's about drinking. It's about football. It's two drunk guys talking about football. What's not to love? Anyway, enough of the bullshit. In this episode, I'm going to be covering the top 50 fantasy rookies in Dynasty. Now, if you don't play Dynasty, you should give it a shot. Find a free league online, it's a lot of fun. You get to keep some or all of your players that you've already drafted from the previous years, Makes it more like the real game. And the one thing that makes it even more interesting, the off season. Because in season long, there is no off season. But in Dynasty, depending on the league, there's different levels of off season. Like some leagues, you got a free agency period, or there's trades you can do, or what I'm going to be talking about today, and that's the rookie draft. Now, don't be surprised if you see some bold calls on here. Number one, I'm known for that. And number two, my calls are usually pretty spot on, even if they go against the grain or the status quo. So get ready for an emotional roller coaster. Well, maybe not quite that, but a pretty good show. As we get things started off right, yeah, you know what that music means. It's time for my top 10 rookies to draft in Dynasty. Number 10, Trey Lance. Yeah, I know it's a bit of a homer pick, and likely he won't be starting right away. But if you're picking at the 10th spot, chances are, as with most Dynasty leagues I've played in, the rookie draft order is based on the previous season standings, so likely you've got a pretty decent team already. So you can afford to keep a guy who needs a year or so to develop, because when he does, you're looking at Pat Mahomes with more rushing. Under the right coach, Trey Lance could be a superstar, and Shanahan is the right coach with the right system. Hold on to him, and then starting next season, your dynasty will begin, just like my Niners. Number 9, Terrace Marshall. Remember how I was saying last year that Robbie Anderson's sudden studliness was no fluke because Matt Rule considered him his guy as he coached Robbie as his project at Temple? No? Well, fuck you, because I did. Pay attention this time, because this time, it was the offensive coordinator Joe Brady who got his guy. He coached Terrace at LSU as the pass game coordinator and wide receiver coach during the 2019 championship run. He was super excited to be coaching him again, saying that Marshall's a good fit and that they want to get him involved in the offense right away, and that he's, quote, excited to get back to work with him and see him earn it all over again. And that, quote, not too many people are 6'2", 200 plus pounds, run a 4.3, and are able to make plays on the ball like Terrace does. When the ball's in the air, Terrace always finds a way to come down with it. Based on that, I think it's safe to say that Terrace Marshall has the talent and the Panthers have the vision for him to become the top guy in the passing game. Hence why I have him in the top 10. Number 8, Jalen Waddle. I'd have him higher up on the list, but Tua has been inconsistent with his wide receivers, and their game plan doesn't seem to scream major wide receiver production. Maybe that changes with Waddle having played with Tua at Alabama, but I personally don't buy into the Dolphins' resurgence this year like everyone else does. That doesn't mean Waddle isn't going to put up numbers though. It's just why I don't have him higher up on the list. Dude is like the next Tyreek Hill, so if he falls to you at 8, don't hesitate. Pick his ass up. Number 7, Devontae Smith. I'd have him higher up on the list if he wasn't forced to play with Jalen Hurts. I don't think Hurts is as bad as everyone else seems to think he is, but he doesn't throw to his receivers as much as we'd like. Plus, Smith will have to compete with Jalen Reagor and Dallas Goedert for targets. I think he becomes the best wide receiver on the Eagles, but for fantasy, that might not be enough to put him in one of those top tiers. That being said, this dude is going to produce, at least eventually. Once they either move on from Hurts or Hurts learns to throw the ball more, guys got stud written all over him. Yeah, he's on the scrawny side, but NFL conditioning coaches will help him bulk up, and when he does, he'll be a fine asset to any fantasy football squad. Number 6, Javonte Williams. Alright, so I gotta say this. Number 4 through 6 are pretty much interchangeable, so don't crawl up my ass if you disagree with the exact order. I know some people have J. Will up higher, and I'm not afraid of Melvin Gordon taking all the attention in the Broncos' running attack. I just have a feeling that for some reason, the passing game is about to get better and more prolific. And their offense, for some reason, not sure why I have that hunch. But anyway, if my hunch is right, couple that with the Broncos' slow, defense-centric pacing, and while Williams will have a successful career and could be a top 15 running back eventually, he ain't gonna catapult in the round 1 status, I don't think. But he does have the skills to pay the bills and could be a mainstay, high-end RB2 for a long time to come. Worth grabbing here for sure. Number 5, Trevor Lawrence. Look, I never take a QB this early in a rookie draft. Pretty much never in the first round. But this is a generational talent, not only in for real football, but in fantasy football too. Not only can he make all the throws, dude will be good for somewhere in the ballpark of 300 to 400 rushing yards and like 5 or so rushing touchdowns each season. And that could likely start this year. Especially if you're weak at the QB position, like the rest of your team is tops, but you're missing that piece at the helm. Lawrence could complete your team. A new era of winning football is coming to Jacksonville. Get in on that shit while you can. Number 4, Travis Etienne. I think while Etienne might be better overall back than Najee Harris, he went to a Jag squad who set up the pass a lot. And it's not like they're going to just forget about James Robinson, who was a beast for them last season. It might take Travis a little bit to get acclimated and work into the offense, whereas Harris will be the guy right away. But once the backfield in Jacksonville is his and the Jags start winning games, look out. Travis Etienne could be a perennial Pro Bowler when all is said and done. Don't fret if he falls to you. Get him. Number 3, Jamar Chase. And cue half of my audience clicking away. I know, practically everyone has Chase in the top 2. And I wouldn't fight you too much if you took him at 2, but hear me out. Yes, he's one hell of a talent, and he's the best wide receiver of a deep wide receiver class. And yeah, he was taken by the Bengals, so he'll be reunited with Joe Burrow, which he won a college championship with at LSU. But in order for that connection to be the magic that the Bengals are hoping for, and that they have the potential to be, Burrow has to be able to make those throws or, well, play. And with the Bengals O-line as effective as using a sieve for a diving helmet, Burrow will find himself on his back a hell of a lot this season once again, and not in a good way. The O-line was entirely ineffective last season, and the Bengals haven't done much in the offseason to give Burrow the protection he needs to make both he and Jamar Chase superstars. Now they did take some linemen in the draft, but most of those were late rounders who likely won't pan out. And they reached around early for Clemson guard Jackson Carman in the second. Now he ain't bad, but it's not enough to make the impact they need. Also, T. Higgins is no slouch and will command a lot of attention from Burrow, as the two of them built some major chemistry last season. Don't get me wrong, Jamar Chase is gonna be a superstar. It's just that the wide receiver position in fantasy is always deep and hard to predict. Which is why I took a player who will be a top-tier elite player at a more shallow position at number 2. Kyle Pitts. Honestly, number 2 and number 3 could be interchangeable, but I give Pitts the very slightest of edges, due to the fact that the Falcons have a better O-line and a better, more established, potent offense. Plus, tight end is a tough position, because after the top 3 or 4, it's a friggin' crapshoot. I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times before by now, but one can't say enough that Kyle Pitts is not only a generational talent, but an all-time great talent at his position. Pick him up, and you're set at the hardest position to fill in fantasy for like the next 10 years or so. I already have him as a top 5 tight end in season long, even before seeing him play one game in the NFL. And that ain't cause I'm crazy. That's where all of us analysts have him. But in a few years, he could easily take the number 1 spot. This guy's like Gronk and Kelsey. Every bit as talented, every bit as frightening to defend, but even faster, and maybe with even better hands. This dude runs a 4.4 40, so he can burn corners. And in the end zone, he'll be unstoppable at 6'6", 240 pounds. Ain't no one taking the ball away from him. Who's gonna stop this guy? With that size and that speed, fuck me running, he's like a Dodge Charger who can catch touchdowns. So go ahead, give me shit for taking him above Jamar Chase. Come on, I dare you. I fucking dare you! Sorry. Anyway, and of course, big surprise, my number 1 rookie that drafted in Dynasty, Najee Harris. Now we all knew that the Steelers were taking a running back in the draft, and we all knew that whichever running back Pittsburgh took, they were going to be the top rookie in fantasy. Their run scheme made us think Lev Bell was a superstar. Hell, it even made James Conner serviceable. Even with the less than stellar O-line, Harris's talent is enough reason alone to take him as the top rookie. Plus, he'll be getting plenty of touches and could produce as a low-end running back one in his first season. In redraft leagues, I think a lot of fantasy owners are going to be scared of getting burned like Edwards-Helaire burned him last year. But Najee Harris is a better talent than CEH. Between the tackles, there's no comparison. He's perfect for Pittsburgh's smash-mouth offense. We're talking Derrick Henry, Frank Gore type shit, but even more athletic. And Dynasty owners are smarter than redraft owners, am I right? Don't even second guess this shit. Take Najee Harris with the first pick or get your ass laughed at. And here are the next 40 of my top 50. Alright, I'll just talk about a few of these guys here. I really like Elijah Moore. I think a lot more than a lot of other people do. Some people were liking Rondale more than Elijah Moore. More. God damn it. Anyway, I do like Elijah Moore though. I think by the end of the season, he's going to be the number 2 guy. Maybe even number 1 if Crowder goes down with injury or something. Everyone's so high on Rashad Bateman, but have you watched the Ravens play football over the past 20 years? They've never been exactly friendly to the wide receiver position. And over the past 2 seasons with Lamar Jackson at the helm, they've only thrown 393 passes to wide receivers. Yikes. I still think he's a great talent though. The Patriots are the perfect team for Mac Jones in this league. Guy's gonna be a stud. Maybe not quite Tom Brady, but a stud eventually. Hey, I know the Seahawks got a logjam at wide receiver, but Dwayne Eskridge is too much of a talent to pass up. I think no matter who ends up being the QB there in Houston, Nico Collins is gonna be on the radar. Moving on down the list here, I think Tutu Atwell's got a big opportunity with the Rams. He could be the number 3 guy there for Matt Stafford. And we've seen what the third wide receiver can do in LA. They could produce. Tutu might be a steal where he's being picked up in rookie drafts. I've got Davis Mills pretty high. I think just because I'm worried about the whole Deshaun Watson situation, whether he ends up suspended or just having all of that be a distraction. I think there's good reason to have Davis Mills in your back pocket. Panthers needed a tight end after losing Olsen, and they got one in Tommy Trumbull. He slipped down later than some might have thought. This guy could be a talent. Sneaky pick there. I think Daz Newsome is way underrated. I think he'll quickly become the number 3 dude in Chicago. Might even take over for Darnell Mooney. This guy is talented. I think Dez Fitzpatrick could be a sleeper there for the Titans. I mean, after A.J. Brown, who the hell have they really got there at wide receiver? He could fill in that number 2 role pretty quick. A lot quicker than people were thinking. Well, there you go, freaks. My top 50 fantasy rookies to draft in Dynasty. Hope that helps. Leave a comment below if it did, or maybe if it didn't and you think your dog gave you better advice, leave a comment too. I don't give a shit. But if you do like what you see, give me that thumbs up, hit subscribe, hit the bell, share this with all your friends and your family, even that annoying aunt who still talks to you like you're in fucking grade school. Now I'm working on a website. I'm trying to put together some more exclusive content on Patreon, alright? So keep your eye out for that. Thanks again for letting me help you crush your competition, even in the off-season. And I'll see you all next week at some point with another episode. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, including mine, who is of course the greatest mother of all. Don't try to fucking argue with me, because you're wrong. Until next week, I'm out. Peace.